Yo, what's up guys? Path of Exile 1 is about to have its next big league, Keepers of the Flame, in just a couple of days on the 31st of this month. And today I wanted to talk about why you should give this a try if you are a new player. If you have never played PoE 1 before, why might this be the time to give it a try? And maybe you are an ARPG player, Diablo, Path of Exile 2, and you're thinking about jumping in because you never tried this, or you've just been looking at this for a while and been put off by certain reasons. Maybe it's too complicated, it's been going on for too long, or maybe you see PoE 2 as the successor, so why would you play the first game? Well, that's what I'm going to talk about today. So first up, what is the new league and why am I making the video now? Why is now the time to talk about new people joining? Well, this new league is their first ever introduction of a league that already exists. So this is not adding a new cool endgame mechanic, it is a reimagining of an old mechanic called Breach. Now, Breach is one of the most popular PoE 1 mechanics, and it's also in PoE 2, so it's a very popular mechanic, and they are using stuff they've learned in PoE 2 and resources from PoE 2 to make this even better in the first game and focus an entire league around it. So we're basically going to get one of the best mechanics and one of the best endgame things that people enjoy redone in a 2025 fashion. They basically said in their big announcement that, lots of the new leagues that they've made are very dynamic. There's lots going on, tons of like crafting and endgame systems tied to it. Whereas Breach, even though people love it, it was just kind of defeating mobs in a circle, just running around in a circle, defeating mobs, right? Well, now they want to bring that to a 2025 standard and remake it to be an up-to-date, really popular new endgame experience that is still focused around running around in a circle, defeating monsters. That's the summary of why they're doing this. And it kind of takes me to the second thing I want to talk about, in that PoE 1 and PoE 2 are both being developed at the same time. So if you are an outsider and you look at these two games, the obvious thing is PoE 1, older graphics, 10-year-old game, PoE 2, brand new, flashy, early access. Obviously, PoE 2 is the big, great, awesome new game, and PoE 1 is the old, forgotten about, dead ARPG, right? That's what a lot of people will see if they've never looked at PoE before. What I want to tell you now is they are working on both of the games at the same time. They've committed to a release schedule, which is 4-month content, 4 monthly leagues on both games. So PoE 1 will get a league, 2 months later, PoE 2 will get their league. 2 months later, PoE 1 will get a new league, like that. So they are continuing to develop both games at the same time, meaning if you prefer PoE 1, you can still get tons of content and enjoyment out of it. And if you prefer PoE 2, similarly, the same thing will be happening over there. And why is this really exciting? Is because they are leveraging both games to improve the other. And I think as a person who loves Path of Exile, I was nervous that development of PoE 2 would take away lots of the good resources from the first game, or continuing to update the first game would slow down development with the second game. And I think an element there it has. However, they've showed with this patch that when they do something really good in one game, they are bringing those best features and well-received features into the other. People loved Breach and some of the things they've done with Breach in the second game, and some of those systems will come back into the first game to make Breach better. Similarly, lots of like really good quality of life changes, like how items work, how trade works, how identifying works, have been brought into the first game. This, with the release of this next patch in PoE 1, we will have asynchronous trade where we will be able to trade with players without meeting them. There will just be a person in our hideout we can click on and we can put things for sale, and then we can wake up in the morning and collect all the things we've sold. Similarly, you can just click a button and travel to someone's hideout and purchase the items they are selling. This was incredibly successful in PoE 2, and it's coming into the first game. Similarly, they've said they're working on things like WASD controls and things like that. So I want to make it very clear that this game is very much alive, and you will see when you look at the player counts, they have very successful content releases, and it isn't going anywhere. So if you're worried about putting your time into a game that is going to slowly be pushed into the corner, the players will not let that happen. PoE 1 is here to stay. Okay, so now let's assume you know nothing about PoE 1. Why should you give this game a try, and why should you give it a try now? Well, I'm going to say if you have played any ARPG on the market, PoE 2, Diablo 4, Titan Quest, Grim Dawn, anything that you have played, anything that you have tried, it does not have an ounce, it does not have a small fraction of the amount of content of PoE 1. PoE 1 not only has 10 years of content, but it has so much content that has stayed season to season. So basically, every time they add a new league, if you think every time they add a new league, they will add a bunch of new things. Maybe a new endgame activity, maybe a new endgame boss, maybe some new items and new crafting, things like that. Every single league, unlike games like Diablo, where each season is just a refresh of certain things and the game doesn't really have much growth of like endgame content, in PoE, every single league, large amounts of that is solidifying into the base game. So it is making the game bigger. So when you get a league like this, where we're getting a breach league in the next, the next league is a breach league, there is still 50 other things to do at endgame. And breach will just be an additional one that has more of a focus around certain things we're doing. So what does that mean to you as someone who's never played the game before? It means that every time you go into a map, there will be tons of things all over the map. The map is just filled with all of the different things, monsters, events, spawns. Outside of your maps themselves, you have like additional zones you can go to. You can go into Rogue Harbor, where you train a bunch of thieves and you work on like cracking safes and going into like heists and things like that. There is like the King's Mart, where you will grow and develop a city, and then in that city you can then run it to generate things for you over time. So you can have like ships that go out and do like raids for you, and then you can go on every day and receive all the items that they bring back. You can send people out to do maps for you in the city. You can grow things. There's loads to do there. There's things like, the Sanctum. We don't talk about Sanctum because it's crap. There's the mine encampment, where you can go down and delve into the ground, and you go hundreds of layers into the ground. Not many people like this. I love it. You basically have a mine cart and you go down as far as you can into like the depths and find the monsters down there. There's the menagerie, where you can capture beasts and you can go and do things with the beasts and turn them into like different items and things. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is there is a ton of content at endgame. And not only is there a lot of content, it has been refined and developed over time to just be, I don't want to say perfect, but just be the best it can be. Not only that, but the endgame itself is just really polished. There is like an endgame system with a mapping system that just makes sense. If you're coming from PoE 2, there are so many frustrations with the endgame mapping, the atlas, the towers. In this, it's just so good. It's just so good. You have like these scarabs, and you have, your progress on the different bosses. And I'm not going to get into any depth. Just know it is so incredibly well designed on how it gets from you hit endgame to you start fighting the bosses. That journey of progression is just the best I've ever played in the genre. So all I can really say here is, if you are looking for a juicy endgame to get stuck into, this is the one. On top of that, obviously, it goes without saying, everything that surrounds that, the amount of builds, the amount of class development, the amount of crafting, the amount of itemization has grown too. So if you're a new player, you have thousands and thousands of hours here before you've seen it all, I would honestly say. So yeah, that's probably the game's biggest strength. But this can also be the game's biggest weakness, because when it comes to getting new players into the game, they take one look at the game and they go, it's too confusing. Not only has it got 10 years of content, but the game itself originally is confusing. It's a very complex game. And is it too confusing for you as a new player? I will say, this is not something that spoon feeds you the game. This does not spoon feed you from start to finish. This is a game where you will have to Google things. You will have to sit down and go, hold on, what's this? What is this item? What is this asking me to do? But if you put the time into learning the game, it is so rewarding. My advice would be to break the game down into the things you don't understand as you play, and just try and learn them slowly. Like, for example, the passive tree is super complex. It's super confusing. And you can take one look at it and go, I can't do this. But just know, every class starts in their own section. Evasion characters start in the evasion section, the green section. Magic characters are in the blue section. Strength characters are in the red section. And hybrids are in between the two. So strength int would go between the two, right? So that's the first thing. So you're only actually looking at a small section of the map at a time. Secondly, just follow a build guide. If you're brand new and you don't want to use your brain, follow a build guide and they will tell you where to put your points level by level. And there are some very good build guides that do dumb it down for newer players and try not to complicate things. So that's the first thing I'd suggest. And the second thing I would suggest is, as you're playing, you'll go through a 10-piece campaign, which is really easy to follow. The campaign does everything for you. You go through this like 10-act campaign. And then when you hit endgame, what I would say is do a piece of content you enjoy and lock yourself into that content. And there is something called an atlas tree. So when you get to endgame, you will have to put points into things that you want to do. So what I would suggest is find something that as you're playing through the game, you'll be introduced to different mechanics and different activities. Find one that you thought was interesting. So as an example, we'll go for what should we say? Let's say Blight. Let's say you like Blight. You did a couple of Blights, you found them fun. You would just go on here, go on Blight, and take all of the flashing Blight nodes. You would just specialize fully in Blights, and this will just make Blights appear more. It will make Blights more rewarding, and it will make like new things happen when you find Blights. Monsters take less damage, lots of cool things will happen now when you find Blights, and then you just farm Blights at endgame until you're happy with it. I did this as a new player, I found something I enjoyed, and I just locked myself into it until I'd like done the final boss of that zone, done all of the content, got all of the drops, and I understood what I was picking up. I understood the resources I was getting from that piece of content, and I understood what I could craft with them and what I could do with them. When you've done that, maybe a few days, maybe a week, go in something else. Go and try and master heists or breach or rituals or something different. And that would be my honest advice as a new player. Take things one at a time, try and learn things one at a time. Don't just like look at the whole game and go, I don't even know where to start. Just throw yourself in, and honestly, if you put the time into this game, it is so rewarding. I'm going to do a few beginners guides coming into PoE1 because I do think this is going to bring in a lot of new people, and if there's anything particularly you do want to see, let me know. But that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.